Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So a couple of years ago, I made a video about Marie Curie's literal lead-lined tomb, and I talk a bit about her background, including her discovery of radium and polonium, and her husband, Pierre. If you haven't seen that video, I will post a link in the description. But for today, I sort of thought I should make a follow-up to that video. So I'm still on vacation in Paris right now, but I thought for today that I would go visit the Museum of Marie Curie, which actually was her lab from 1918 until her death in 1934. Don't worry, it was decontaminated in 1981. But apparently it's really well preserved, so I want to look inside, and I thought I would take you guys with me. The Marie Curie Museum occupies the ground floor of the historic Curie Pavilion at the former Radium Institute, which was founded in 1909, and this is where Marie Curie conducted research for the final 2 decades of her life. By the early 20th century, Marie Curie was an international scientific icon, having won her first Nobel Prize in Physics in 1903 alongside her husband, Pierre Curie, and Henri Becquerel. Following Pierre's tragic death in 1906, Marie continued her research under pretty grueling conditions. Her historic second Nobel Prize was in chemistry in 1911, and recognizing the desperate need for a state of the art facility to house her research, the University of Paris and the Pasteur Institute partnered in 1909 to construct the Radium Institute. And the museum is made up of three main sections, basically. First, this small lobby has various permanent exhibits that showcases how radium was perceived in popular literature and unfortunately used in its early years. This thing, for example, was a radium fountain, and it worked by circulating ordinary water through an internal capsule containing radium salt to actively radioactivate the water. Sold as a spa experience in your home during the 1920s and 30s, these devices were sold to consumers so they could drink radioactive water at home under the mistaken belief that it had life extending and therapeutic health benefits. Now, as horrifying as that sounds, there are also exhibits that showed the good use of radiography, such as examples of some of the equipment that was installed in early ambulances during World War I. These vehicles, pioneered by Marie Curie, contained an X ray machine and darkroom equipment, and her idea was that they could be driven right up to the battlefield where Army surgeons could use X rays to guide their surgeries. Curie even pioneered the electrical power problem needed to produce the X rays. She incorporated a dynamo, a type of electrical generator, into the car's design. The petroleum powered car engine could thus provide the required electricity. So, not all of the exhibits are low key nightmares. The next part of the museum is Marie's lab. And here, Marie spent thousands of hours isolating rare radioactive isotopes such as radium, polonium, and actinium. The laboratory visible today is a meticulous post decontamination restoration. In 1981, a major government decontamination initiative safely scrubbed the interior to neutralize decades of accumulated radioactive residue. During this process, highly contaminated materials, including her primary wooden workbench and several storage cabinets, were permanently removed and safely stored by the National Radioactive Waste Management Agency. The room was rebuilt to its exact historical appearance, complete with period appropriate chemical apparatuses, glass retorts, pipettes, and measuring equipment. Original lead shields and thick glassware line the tables, highlighting the hazardous conditions under which early radiological science progressed. And it's crazy because there are pictures that I remember seeing online, like pretty famous pictures of Marie Curie in this exact room. Like this photo where she is at the edge of what I think is this counter facing the door, and this photo where she's now on the other side of the counter with her back towards the door. To be in the same room where these photos of her were taken is just insane. This lab also witnessed subsequent breakthroughs. It was within these walls that Marie's eldest daughter, Irene Joliot-Curie, and her son-in-law, Frederic Joliot-Curie, discovered artificial radioactivity in 1934. By bombarding stable elements with alpha particles, they synthesized entirely new radioactive isotopes, a discovery that earned them the 1935 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Marie lived just long enough to witness their initial discovery, passing away a few months prior to their Nobel ceremony from aplastic anemia brought on by chronic radiation exposure. Okay, so right in here is Marie Curie's office. And the final section of the museum, and true heart of this museum, in my opinion, is Marie Curie's private office, preserved to mirror its 1930s appearance. Situated on the ground floor, this room served as a sanctuary for Marie, and it stands out as the only entirely authentic room untouched by structural remodeling over the decades. The aesthetics of the office reflect Marie Curie's famous modesty and anonymous decency as described by her youngest daughter, Eve Curie, in her biography about Marie. Stripped of the ornate crown moldings or wood paneling typical of prestigious French universities at the time, the room features plain walls, standard oak furniture, a desk, and a glass paneled bookcase. High, expansive windows which face the courtyard garden were essential for Marie, who by the early 1920s, after decades of radiation exposure and cataracts, had severely impaired her vision. And many of these things in this office are Marie's. The same green shaded desk lamp rests on her workspace. Her silver and marble inkwell with her pen still sits on her desk. The decorative silver cup on this shelf was presented to her by the women of the Alliance Francaise of New York, and the winged victory statue was presented to her by students at the University of Paris in 1923. That is a picture of Pierre over on the wall, but the museum tells me that that was put there by family after Marie's passing. That was amazing. That was so amazing. I have thoughts on this, on seeing Marie Curie's lab in person that I think I'm going to share on a Patreon video that I will release later this week. But this place was amazing. Highly recommended. Come. You have to come and see it, especially if you're a fan of her work. I cannot recommend it highly enough. But I think that's it for today's video. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. And as always, I will see you in the next video. And of course, I have to wrap up this video by taking you guys to the Pantheon, because this is where both Marie and Pierre Curie are interred. They actually were interred here, I think in the mid-90s, in 1995, in their lead-lined tombs, and they've been here ever since.